Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to Lagos. I arrived after a slightly longer journey than I anticipated yesterday evening. The drive was fine. The border was a piece of cake, although I did get hit up for bribes a few times. I said, "Do you have something for your friend?" The guy who stamped me in. On the Nigerian side, again, it was a very integrated border, far more so than the no man's land that kind of like Northwest Africa deals with. But he finished stamping me in, kind of looked at my passport in his hand and said, "So do you have something for your friend? I need some tea," holding a teacup. And I was like, "No problem, brother." And I pulled out 2 tea bags, put them in his hand, and he looked at it dumbfounded, and the other 3 guys absolutely cracked up. And eventually he cracked a grin, handed me my passport. That was fun. Anyway, so then we get to Lagos, and this is where the drama began, because I did kind of know this, but not to this degree, because in the same kind of way as Sierra Leone and Guinea, the hyperinflation of the past has resulted in a situation where the highest denomination note in the Naira, which is the local currency, is 1,000. 1,000 Naira is less than $1 American. And so when you go to an ATM, the most you can take out in one hit is 20,000. So $16, $17. And that means that with everyone in the city going in withdrawing their money, the ATMs empty very, very fast. And I could not find an ATM yesterday to give me any money at all. An alternative is what they call POS, which is a way that they've found to combat this paradigm, which essentially is a bunch of people with a PDQ machine, with a card machine, and you then put it through, and for a modest commission, they give you cash. Unfortunately, that doesn't work with international cards, so I couldn't do that either. My hotel didn't accept Visa, which I think is a massive thing that they should deal with, because supermarkets do. But the upshot was I couldn't get any money last night at all. Now, it is for exactly this reason that I have tins of food and 2 hip flasks of whiskey whenever I travel like that, whenever I can, because it meant that with my pan and the stove, I cooked myself a corned beef hash with a tin of mixed vegetables, a tin of corned beef, a tin of tomato puree, some spices from my spice bag, a decent hearty meal that was absolutely fine, and some whiskey to see in the night. Got up this morning. Hey man. Got up this morning. Shine, who is the manageress at the hotel, was really quite upset, going, "You'll never find that amount of money in any ATM in Nigeria." And I was like, well, I don't have a great deal of choice. Now, I didn't tell her I could pay the whole thing with the emergency stash of dollars and pounds. I could pay it purely with the dollars I have in my boot. But I hate using emergency money, especially when I'm in a capital fucking city. So I got up, went to 11 banks this morning, and did manage to get out 300k, which was enough to pay for my accommodation for the week, which made Shine very happy, and give me a working backup of cash. So that's all sorted out. It was a bit of a hassle, but it paid off, it pulled off, it was fine. Anyway, now it's Saturday afternoon. There is actually a kids recital, young people playing musical instruments in my hotel, which is kind of drowning out a bit. I am getting my Western on today, and as a slight reward for being pretty out there the last few weeks, I am going to the IMAX. They have an IMAX here to watch F1, the new Brad Pitt Formula 1 film. I'm going to a Domino's Pizza and having a large pizza. And then when I'm done with all that, going to the supermarket and stocking up on good value food, healthy food. I did scope out a supermarket earlier that has beans and corned beef, and you can get like a takeaway jollof rice there. And so I'm going to have cereal. I have a small fridge in my room, so I'm going to get 2 boxes of cereal and have a large bowl of cereal each morning with cold fresh milk, because I've got to keep my costs down. Today is my mild splurge: cinema and a pizza. The rest of the week is going to be on frugal times, Jeffrey. Anyway.
He's like going ka, I think. It is a little deafening.
Afternoon, friends. So behind me is the IMAX theatre. In a weirdly, I think this area is becoming gentrified. It's kind of half and half. It's kind of half tricked out and half ramshackle. But anyway, the point is, went in, and I must admit I did expect an IMAX movie theatre to accept Visa. They did not, so I had to dip into my cash. But the upside is an IMAX ticket here costs 8,000 naira, which is $7. Not quite the outlay that I was thinking. So it's entirely possible that I might come twice, because I haven't been to an IMAX in a while, and there are some good movies out. When's Superman released? Anyway, so now I didn't go to the movies yesterday because I had somewhat miscalculated the distance between my place and the place I was eating. And so by the time I was finished eating, the film was starting. So I came today instead. And after the heavy rains yesterday, we've still got this kind of thing. Puddles like swimming pools all over the place. And of course, being a dumbass, I wore sandals today. Anyway, yeah, kind of this is what I mean. Being built and actually quite upscale. This is also, I mean, this entire country is religious, of course, but that I can see 4 churches and, well, 3 churches and one place called the Revival Centre, End Time Ministries. So, sounds like fun. Speaking of which, I'm staying in a nice little hotel called the Lighthouse, and it has kind of a churchy little meeting hall that's multi-purpose, but it's set up like a church with, you know, a little lectern at the end and chairs facing forward. There was a recital for kids playing violin yesterday that was incredibly cute. I didn't feel right in recording it, of course. And then this morning at 8 o'clock, and I was just lying around, it's Sunday, and a quite serious religious service started up and continued for 4 hours. Lots of music and singing and a preacher and, you know, like praise to be to Jesus and for the glory of Jesus, and this kind of thing. It was, I did actually record a touch for Bethany, so I might post that as part of this video, I'm not sure yet, but it was fun. Right, so on my way to get some food, a few random thoughts really, because when you move like I do, it's the little differences, you know. You go into a new country, an awful lot is exactly the same. Maybe the currency is the same, maybe the food is similar, jollof rice being a staple, that sort of thing. But you have the little differences that hit you all the time. Nigeria, Lagos, anyway, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have a taxi system, you know. Benin, Togo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, you had, generator there. You had moto taxis, tuk-tuks, taxis everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And a lot of them beeping their horns to attract your attention and potential business. Here, not so much. But also, when people address you, for whatever reason, I've had, hold on, right, stepping stone situation going on here. There we go. You know, for whatever reason, here, it's really just saying hi. But I've had boss, big boss, chief, patron, even sometimes father or daddy. Little kid running after you, calling you daddy. Here, a dozen times over the last couple of days, it's been master. Sometimes accompanied with a little bow. And considering the context, that makes me less than comfortable. But they don't mean it in that way, obviously, and they're being nice. And so, you know, suck it up and smile and say thank you and wish them happy Sunday as well. But it's weird. It's really weird. Anyway, I'm getting lost in a maze of residential streets, but never mind that. Not lost, you understand. I know where I am and I know where I'm going, but I've got to make it back to the cinema in an hour. Anyway. That's a very wide goat. Maybe she's pregnant. Very weird. Good afternoon, friends. So, the next chapter in Jeff's visa woes. Okay, so Cameroon, which is my next country. That's where I come around and I start heading south again. Cameroon does have an e-visa system, but only for flights. So there's a requirement on the e-visa where you have to put your flight number and your flight details and a scanned copy of your ticket. Which makes things difficult for someone like me. I realise that I am quite firmly in the minority, worldwide really. But yeah, so I had read on a few forums, go to the embassy, which seemed to make sense. Went to the embassy. The lady took down all my details and I signed in, took me into a room and pointed at a sign saying, use the e-visa system. And I explained to her the situation. She seemed remarkably nonchalant about the whole thing and was kind of over the situation. But she did say that there is a consulate in Calabar. So I am in Lagos, which is in the west of the country on the coast. I'm going to Port Harcourt, which is about 10 hours distance from here, which is way down in the River State. And so I'm going to stay there for a week. And then I go to Calabar, because it's my intention, as I said before, to take a ferry, 3-hour ferry from Calabar to Limbe in Cameroon. So I did just a little deep diving found an email address for the consulate in Calabar, explained my situation. It's entirely possible that they will not answer that email, and I will be going to the edge of Nigeria to head into Cameroon without confirmation of a damn thing. Now, I kind of like that. I am very much a ducks in a row organization, troubleshooting kind of traveler, but doing that is really quite old school. You know, because back in the day there were places I went that were, if I was lucky, was one line in a guidebook and maybe a tiny sketch map with a couple of dots for accommodation. I back up, Hail Mary pass, winging a prayer, and just running on belief. That's, you know, these days with internet and Google Maps and Booking.com and all of that jazz, makes things sometimes a little too convenient for my blood. But, so, it'll be fun. And I can't be the only guy going overland from Nigeria, or in this case overseas, from Nigeria to Cameroon. So it has to be possible. So that's the situation. It's currently Monday afternoon. I'm going to buy some of those nice meat pasties again, and then go to the supermarket. I'm getting a night bus. I do enjoy doing that. A night bus from here to Port Harcourt on Thursday night. Yeah, should be good. Anyway, I hope you're smiling. So, my makeshift beer cooler. It's a microfiber cloth and the little sheath that my titanium knife, fork and spoon set come in. That's quite clever, actually. Yep. Brutal. Good evening, friends. So I just popped out. It's gone 6 o'clock. And it's past midnight in Laos. So that means that it is Wednesday the 9th of July. And it is my dear Bethany's birthday today. Happy birthday, Beth. Anyway, I popped out to get some beer and some of the fantastic pasties that they have around here. And I'm just walking back to my place now. I must admit to being a little concerned. The reason is, as I stated yesterday, the Cameroonian e-visa system is only possible for flights. And I was told by the consulate here that I should use the e-visa system. It's only available for flights. Oh, that's a problem. We can't do anything. Calabar, which is the port town close to the Cameroonian border, has a consulate. Now, winging it is definitely an option. But I wouldn't wing it without having exhausted every other possible option. So what I did was, I did a bit of a deep dig, and I did find an email address for the Calabar consulate, and I emailed them yesterday saying, hi, Jeffrey Green, traveling overland, intend to get a boat from Calabar to Limbe. When can I have an appointment to organize a visa? They sent an email back 8 o'clock yesterday saying, please use the e-visa system. I sent an email straight back saying, unfortunately, that is not possible because it's only available for flights. It's a required field, and it has two options in the required field for point of entry, and they're both airports. So, I sent that back at 9 o'clock yesterday. I sent a follow-up email today at about 2 o'clock, and I haven't heard back from them. This is a concern. I mean, I have looked at flights, but there are no direct flights from Nigeria to Cameroon. The only option would be flying via Lomé, which is the capital of Togo that I was in 2 weeks ago, which is west of here. Waiting 5 hours in the airport there, so a 9-hour trip to fly what would be from Calabar about 150 kilometers for the bargain price of 1 million naira, which is $500 American. Now, things that are calming me down a bit. I cannot be the only non-Nigerian, rarefied as my strata of traveller is. I cannot be the only non-Nigerian to cross the Cameroonian border, whether it's the water border or the land border, this year. I simply can't be. So there has, going full Captain Cook, there's got to be a way, you know? Anyway, back now. Beer time.